Some people will not believe the mainstream news no matter what, right? And there's sometimes not much we can do. That is a smaller group of people than journalists wish to believe. I think there are a lot of people who exist in an information climate in which people are telling them not to trust journalists, but who have a lot of curiosity about what is true and really struggle to know what to believe is true. I am Joy Mayer, the founder and director of Trusting News. We are a nonprofit project that since 2016 has been learning as much as we can about how people decide what news to trust and how well news is serving the public, and helping journalists with strategies to demonstrate credibility and actively earn trust. Hey, good morning. This is great. How long have you guys been in this space?
We have been officially in here since mid-July. My name is Eric Garwood. I'm the executive editor of the Community News Collaborative here in Sarasota. I met Joy about a week after I took this job. She brings a perspective to the business that I had not heard very much before.
We want the public to better understand what separates responsible, mission-driven information from everything else showing up in their social feed. Most people don't understand how journalism works, which is actually kind of reasonable. I don't know that much about how a lot of other professions work. I don't know how grocery stores work. I don't know. My dad's a church choir director. There's plenty that people don't know about how that works, right? And we want journalists to understand who doesn't see themselves in their coverage and what are the obstacles to trust. And then we help journalists overcome those obstacles.
I did a story about the new concealed carry law and got a gun shop that was going to let me sit in with class and talk to people.
Awesome.
All kind of stuff. But yeah, and then I get there and then he says, don't talk to this guy.
I'd be real curious to know how many people covering guns in newsrooms across the country come from any sort of background that is comfortable with them. I think we could do a lot more to own that and to empathize with it.
I'm noticing a theme of what you're saying is kind of going against something that I learned in school, which is remove yourself.
Yeah.
Because without us allowing people to get to know us and get to know who we are and what journalism is and all of those type of things, how can they trust us?
People don't give us the benefit of the doubt. And if they are left to make assumptions, the assumptions are likely to be negative.
I think if you look at Oklahoma, we probably are more conservative politically. As a result, the messages from what we sometimes call conservative media resonates more strongly with our audience. So I think building trust here may be more difficult.
I think they all lie. Yeah. It's just, you just take a little bit from each news and, kind of form your own opinion.
Today and age, we got 100 different, 1,000 tons of information thrown at us in every direction. So it's hard to even tell for people what is true and what's not.
How we got to this stage of people not trusting news was because we failed to remind them what we do and how we do it. It was so ingrained in our culture, and we ended up raising one or two generations that didn't really know what journalism was or what we did because we failed to tell them.
I'm Ted Struley. I'm the executive director of Oklahoma Watch. We're a statewide nonprofit investigative news organization.
I'm Dick Pryor. I'm general manager of KGOU Radio, which is an NPR member station at the University of Oklahoma.
The Oklahoma Media Center is a really wonderful collaboration of newsrooms across the state of Oklahoma. They've invested in statewide research to help newsrooms, help journalists in Oklahoma understand what people across the state in a variety of communities, what they're getting from the news, how well served they seem by the news, and what they say they want from journalism.
Today's training is called Reaching People Who Are Unengaged.
So across groups of people, we hear some commonalities about what they feel like separates them from the news. They feel like journalists don't understand them well enough to be accurate, to tell actually stories that feel like they are an accurate depiction of people's lives. Newsrooms are applying for grants. Some of the newsrooms will invest in deep listening with their communities. And then I'll also meet with them one-on-one to talk about what they're working on and coach them over a period of about 4 months.
I think there is a responsibility that we are kind of taking on as we kind of move more into the digital age, that we do need to show our work.
The education about how to consume the news and how to check the news.
Like,
yep.
Damn, do we really need to do that? Like, I think
but we actually do.
We are going to be conducting this conversation, and what we're going to do tonight is to actually talk a little bit and then listen a lot.
Our particular project involves going out and talking to groups in the community and both educating them about the basics of journalism, what we do, how journalism got started in the United States, what its role was, how it still serves that role, and how we do our jobs, and how you know you're getting trustworthy information from us.
And I am not of the persuasion that we're all entitled to our own facts. But the facts that evidence bears, that's what I'm supposed to present if I'm a journalist.
If you can poke holes in the story, I want to know,
Yes.
right? Because I'll go write a follow-up story. I'll run a correction. I'll do whatever,
wrong.
right? If you find a flaw in my story, I want to know about it so I can fix it as quickly as possible.
It takes time, it's going to take effort, but I think it's worth doing, because what other way are we going to do it other than meeting people where they are and talking face to face?
Whatever Walter Cronkite said was solid, it would be believed.
Right.
With television, I just wonder if sometimes.
But one of the things that I think people forget about Walter Cronkite is that he actually started to do stories about the Vietnam War that people were not happy about. And so even Walter Cronkite, who's considered to be the objective journalist, par excellence, did some reporting that people didn't like. And what did they say when they didn't like what he reported? Well, he's just expressing his opinion.
I thought one of the things that was interesting in Chickasha was the age disparity, right? We had some college students and we had some retired people, and they had very different kinds of questions.
Yeah?
I trust a local level.
Local level? You trust us?
Not the news people, but like the people that are being talked about.
The people that are being talked about, you don't trust them? Or
Like
you
if
do?
it's politics or something.
Okay, if it's politics or something. So who do you trust if it's politics or something?
I don't know. I just have to do my own research more.
You have to do your own research.
In particular, one young woman who was talking about she doesn't really know, who to trust, essentially a little confused about where to go to find good information. It's not that she was against it, but she just doesn't know. And I think a lot of people fall into that. They don't really know how to determine whether you're trustworthy or not and whether they should pay attention to you or not. And so I think if we can reach people at an earlier age and they grow up in it and don't reject us outright, then that trust level, that loyalty can be very strong.
We don't have a specific figure.
A funny thing happens when journalists invite the public more into their process. We did one research study where skeptical viewers of a local TV station attended a morning news meeting and heard what stories were being debated, saw who in Cincinnati, Ohio was making the decisions.
The biggest question that we had for the breaking news was what actually happened in Covington.
The people who got that window into how decision making was done and who was making the decisions reported higher levels of trust. They said, we didn't realize it wasn't your parent company telling you what to cover. It's just people who live in Cincinnati. We didn't realize that you don't have 20 reporters a day. You only have 5. There are so many things you could be covering. We didn't realize how carefully you debated what to cover. The meeting was very thoughtful. A lot of people don't understand that when a newsroom uses an anonymous source or an unnamed source, that actually there's a process behind that, that you have to work your way up the chain, that multiple editors know who that person is. After I met with the New York Times Trust team, they started to embed a little box that says that when they use an anonymous source, how it fits in with their strategy overall. Most people don't think journalists have ethics. So where on your news site are your ethics policies? This is an existential problem for journalists. When the majority of the country thinks we're bad for democracy, not good, that is our problem to fix.
When you don't have a local watchdog press, the cost of government is more expensive, there's less accountability, there's more corruption. It's actually patriotic to have a free press.
I think the stakes are huge. We have to build trust. If we don't build trust among the public that we rely on, right, to support us, to make us viable, then we're not going to succeed. Whether we succeed or not is going to say a lot about the future of democracy and how successful this democracy is going to be for generations.